I will call this meeting to order. If we can all rise for a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you very much. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councillor Allenson. Here. Councillor Carmody.
Here.
Councillor Fishbein. Councillor Laffin.
Here.
Councillor Marone.
Here.
Councillor Reagan.
Here.
Councillor Reynolds.
Here.
Councillor Tata.
Here.
And Councillor Testa.
Here.
Okay, so the only item on the discussion for tonight is possible action regarding the mayoral veto, and we'll go to Councillor Testa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, the reason I asked for this is it'd be very easy to, to assume that it's been settled and maybe this is a futile gesture, but I don't look at it that way. I wanted one more opportunity to be able to express my support for adding the additional funds to the Board of Ed budget that we had done during our workshops. And I wanted to allow my colleagues the same opportunity, as well as hear from anyone in the public that might want to also share their views on it. And lastly, and probably more importantly, to respectfully ask the rest of my colleagues to reconsider what they may have decided previously, and in hopes that perhaps a week or two and a bunch of arguments being made to them and so on and so forth, that maybe one or more of them would also reconsider the position they had taken previously. I do appreciate the efforts on the part of the administration and the mayor to do something, to acknowledge what we had expressed. I understand the position he's in, and everybody is doing their own job here. But there was a fairly strong position taken by the council to add the $2.3 million, and it wasn't an arbitrary number. It certainly wasn't what a lot of people were hoping for, but there was a lot of thought put behind coming up with that number, and I think it's a meaningful figure. I think it puts the board in a better position, certainly, to navigate going forward. So I'm not looking to drag this out forever, but I wanted to at least have the opportunity to one more time make a public statement of support for it. So having said that, I will make a motion that the town council override the mayor's veto and adjustment of the budget that we adopted.
Second.
Thank you, sir. Motion is made and seconded. Discussion on the motion? Mr. Carmody?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All of this has already been said, and I'll be quick because I just had mouth surgery yesterday, but I didn't want to miss this meeting. The school system has been faced with a significant increase in their health care costs. There has been an increase in public and private tuition. The crossing guards have been removed from the police budget and put into the board's budget, and we have seen a decrease in the state's excess cost reimbursement. And we also must meet our contractual obligations. Without the proper funding, which this budget does not provide, the school system will be facing layoffs and cuts to programs. And to me, that is unacceptable, and our students will suffer as a result. The current budget as it stands is inadequate. I am going to vote to override because I want to see a thriving school system here in Wallingford. And to do that, we must provide them with the necessary resources they need. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Councillor Allenson, you're up next, if you can hear us.
Mr. Chairman, I have her statement, if that's okay. I know she's in and out of
No, please, yeah, she's away, so she's joining us remotely, but she's having a hard time.
All right. This is the statement from Councilor Allenson. Hello, everyone. I am away, unfortunately, with spotty service, so I've asked my colleague Tom Laffin to read this statement in case my internet will not hold out. I'd like to thank everyone who sent emails, commented online via the forums, etc., for your intelligent input, agreeing or disagreeing with the budget passed last week. Historically, Wallingford has had lower taxes than our neighbors and many other communities in the state. This year is no exception. Despite our proposal to increase taxes by the previously defined historic amount, Wallingford is not in a unique situation. Unfortunately, as communities around the state try to navigate decreases and grant funding on state and federal levels. Here is some data from around the state. The North Haven Board of Finance's finalized budget, rejected by voters Tuesday, totaled $130.4 million budget, which is $8.85 million over the current year. It included a $64.9 million for the schools, which is about $3.3 million more than the current school year. This represents a $2.65 mil increase to the city's tax rate. And this is from Hearst News. And that would lead to finally a 6.8% increase financially. In Cheshire, the fiscal 2024 budget is $133 million and is up 6% compared to the prior year's revised adopted budget. The budget increase responds to service demands and inflationary increases in certain costs. The bulk of the increase is attributable to increases in Board of Education spending. In North Branford, following the annual budget referendum question vote on May 14th, North Branford has adopted the $61,838,729 town budget recommended by the Town Council for fiscal year 24-25. The new budget sets the North Branford's new mill rate at 35.93 mils, an increase of 1.41 mils from the current 34.52 mil rate. In Enfield, the fiscal 24 budget is $133 million and is up 6% compared to the prior year's revised adopted budget. The budget increase responds to service demands and inflationary increases in certain costs. The bulk of the increase is attributable to increases in Board of Education spending. This information from other towns indicates that despite our growing maintenance and school needs, the majority of this council did responsibly balance the growing costs and needs of our employees and the needs of our community and facilities at large. Our proposed mill rate increase of 1.07 mils, a 5.68% increase over last year. On our worst year, we are still fiscally responsible compared to our neighbors and similar communities around the state. Further, many of our employees at Wallingford Public Schools and in our other departments live in town and have supported these measures despite knowing that they, too, will be paying more to live here. The mayor's partial veto decreases the tax increase by $50. I can understand the changes in support that will happen here tonight in an effort to support what some would consider a reasonable counterproposal. Personally, I would rather buy 4 fewer movie tickets, 7 fewer Starbucks specialty coffees, and 1 month less of premium streaming subscription if it meant I can keep more people employed in our schools. By staying the course, I am supporting my neighbors and the future of our community by supporting Wallingford Public Schools. I can guarantee that my interest in quality education won't stop after everyone's attention moves away from the Board of Education budget, just as it hasn't in my personal life or my 4 years serving this town. My vote would be to support the veto if I was able to be there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Allenson. While you have the floor, did you have your own comments? I'm not trying to put you on the spot. You were on the list.
Oh, yeah. You're not going to clap for these, though, the same way. So I understand where everybody is coming from in on this, and I do appreciate all the messages that we received going up into the discussions of what we came up with for that. proposal and the ones that have come after. I also appreciate the creative and thoughtful effort that Mayor Cervoni put into trying to work out something else that he was more comfortable with. The votes to override to get back to that 2.3 don't exist. That is just a reality of the situation. I feel that it's again a fair compromise, and I appreciate the efforts of Mayor Cervoni for the 1.1. The 2.3 was above what I had originally, in my own mind, thought of as a compromise, and I moved up with working with others. The 1.1 is probably less, but here we are, and again, the votes just don't matter. Anything after this is a restatement of position. For some people, it's theatrics. It's a whole lot of different things. And again, consistent with my voting history and style of the past, I'm completely willing to go into battle. But when I've lost, I know that I've lost, and it's on to us to work with what's left and try and regain some of that harmony. I know not everyone is going to be happy, but not everybody was happy before either. The people in the room are clearly for one position. People online are all different positions. People on my in my email box, text messages, phone calls, whatever. Some people were upset that the Board of Ed didn't get a $5 million adjustment in that last proposal, and some were upset that it wasn't the 4 that we talked about. Some people were upset that they were getting 2.3, and some people are going to be upset with the 1.1 that it's only 1.1, and some people are upset that that the Board of Ed's getting another 1.1. So as Councilor Testa had said earlier, I think, I appreciate the work that everybody's put into this and everybody's opinions and statements, and I'm looking forward to try and being available to work with the Board of Ed and seeing what we can do for our different parts of government to make something a little more sustainable in the upcoming years.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Regan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We tried. The Board of Education's original budget request was reduced by the mayor's office by $3.9 million for both the sustained and strategic budget asks in an effort to reduce the burden on the taxpayer for this year's inevitable tax increase. There were those of us on both sides of the council that felt the reduction in their ask was too great, and we countered with a $2.3 million restoration with members from both sides of the aisle to make their sustained budget reduction a little less burdensome. It was met with great discussion and debate, and while it did pass with a 6-3 vote, it was clear that we did not have the votes to override a veto. And here we are. We've all received large numbers of emails and phone calls from across our town on both sides of the issue, as Councilor Laffin said. The concern about the negative impact to the health and well-being of the students, as well as the additional financial pressure it gives to people, we have to weigh those equally. I think the mayor's line item veto compromise is just that. Restoring 1.1 million was finding middle ground where neither side is happy, the burden is reduced, and sends a message to the Board of Education to start sharpening their pencil. We cannot sustain year over year these types of increases, and yet here we are. A serious conversation, not a conversation, action regarding school consolidation, our cost per student, union contracts, and how we maintain this antiquated infrastructure needs to occur, not once, but in every single chance and every single conversation we have. I therefore will reluctantly vote no to turn over the mayor's compromise. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Reynolds.
I looked for the button on the bottom. New mics, anyone's watching them. So, the way that I see things is if we go back a couple of years, we weren't adequately raising taxes the way we should have. And so now we're at a period where the pendulum has swung the other way and we don't have any other options. So if I'm counting correctly, it doesn't seem like we have the votes, but I thought I would say my piece anyway. My piece is that I think that the anguish of losing your job ripples throughout a household, it ripples throughout a workplace, and it ripples throughout classrooms. And if you imagine the day in the life of a kid, like remember like when, summer would never come, days are long. And these kids, our kids, my kids, one's graduated, one's about to graduate, they spent a lot of time in these schools that have not been updated, that have had broken boilers, and now we're expecting them to sort of just suck it up and sharpen pencils and find money and fix things and such. And all of the things that have been levied as criticisms about how much we pay for education, if you want to say that we're underperforming, fair criticism. If you want to say that there could be savings found elsewhere, fair criticism. If you say that combining the high schools would be a cost-saving measure, fair. Or you want to keep them apart. But every single justification or reason for people who are uncomfortable with the amount of money that was getting spent this year is not addressed by not fully funding this. Not addressed at all. And so in my world where we try to figure out if something works when you do something, I'm saying that doing this is going to do nothing that people want to see. In fact, it's going to make the situation worse. So much so. So much so that we're not correcting anything that's going to make this come up again next year. And so if we're going to do something about this, then fine, let's do something about it. But this isn't doing anything. This is just saying we're just not going to raise taxes as much. Your taxes are going up. Everybody's tax bill is going up. It's going up a couple $100, $300. At this point, we're arguing over $10, $20, $30, and you're talking about 10, 20, 30 people losing their job. I am a taxpayer in this town. I live in this town. I would gladly pay extra money if it meant that people get to keep their jobs and the places where our kids go stay the productive and happy places, not places where people go for the rest of the year worrying, am I going to be the one cut, or et cetera. So thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Any other discussion from the council? Going to the public? Anyone from the public care to speak on this topic? Please come to the mic. Your name and address for the record, please.
Can you hear me?
Sure can.
I've never spoken at a town council meeting, but I was compelled to come. My name is Eileen Oliveira. I live at 25 Stella Drive. Some of you know me. Some of you are related to me. Others of you have taught my kids. Thank you, Ann. I'm here for Ann Poirier. She made a great difference in the life of my child. One of you on the town council did as well. I'm here because I'm flabbergasted. Absolutely flabbergasted. I will gladly pay $500 a year. I'm about to retire. I don't care. This is the most ridiculous argument that I have heard in my 36 years in this town. I'm horrified. Look at the people behind you. Look at my husband. He used to work for Wallingford Public Schools. It's ridiculous. You guys need to get together. You need to resolve it. But most importantly, tonight, I'm not here to expect an override. I'm here to tell all of you, I'm watching whether you vote with the override. And the next time I'm at the polls, I'm going to use my voting power. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry. I don't reach. Good evening, everyone. My name is Francesca Hart. I just wanted to start by saying thank you to the Town Council for again hosting an opportunity to share, advocate, and openly discuss the budget proposal. My name is Francesca Hart, and first off, I'm a proud parent of 3 who attend Wallingford Public Schools. I'm also a staff member, a veteran teacher who's been employed for 20 years. Many of these years were spent as a fifth grade teacher, currently at Pond Hill, and before reconfiguration at E.C. Stevens. Being a teacher and staff member in the district grants me the ability to know how the budget will affect my past, present, and future students. This granted knowledge is also what creates the concerns that I'm experiencing as a parent, knowing what my 3 children will lose in learning benefits that other students have had before them. This conversation is not an easy one for me to have in such a public forum. I know that Mayor Cerrone and several town council members have had concerns about such a sizable budget. I know that each year there's an increase, and everyone, mayor, town council members, citizens in the community, are often questioning why so much and where does the money go. In the end, you as our town officials have to explain the different groups in the community what your decisions are and why you made them. I honestly, at times, in fairness, am not even sure how the money is dispersed or what the logic is behind it. But looking to the future, I feel perhaps that a conversation could be happening more often and perhaps as quick agenda items during town council meetings so that Wallingford Schools has an opportunity to share how money is being allocated throughout the year and not just during this time of year. Each year when the conversation about the school district budget begins, I have some insight to know how any cuts in funding can impact the students in our schools. Please know that no matter what cuts are, our staff works to find that way to make it work. We give everything we can, and it is a team effort, and multiple people play important roles to make students grow academically, mentally, socially, and emotionally. Knowing what I know makes me more privy to know how teachers and support staff cuts can impact classroom size, instructional planning, and many other supports in place that will be lost. In the end, we are trying to bridge learning gaps and help students make necessary growth, but honestly, finding a way to make it work without having assistance from additional staff and their resources is not in the best interest of students, staff, and the teachers. Again, I'm privy to these ideas and thoughts that other families and community members do not have. As parents that are constantly trying to make sure that we are involved with our and for our children, my husband and I are extremely concerned about what this is going to do to the level of instruction and education for our 3. In my concerned state, I've been reaching out to my children's teachers at the high school and middle school levels and their administrators. I know that the administration doesn't have an official conversation about how the budget will exactly impact the upcoming year, but I know it will. My questions are valid and I think on the minds of all parents at each of the schools. Questions such as, what staff will need to be lost, how is it going to impact the schedules and sizes, and frankly, why? Why do I need to worry as a parent that my children, especially my twin daughters, who are going to be seniors next year, have a threat to not receive the level of education that the students before them have? We are concerned with the possibility of more students in the classroom, less support, more negative behaviors, and the decline of emotional states of the students, especially our own. Staff loss is a valued person that a student has made a bond with and can become a personal loss. I know that finding ways to make it work is not what I want to think of as a parent, but do truly appreciate the efforts that my staff and all the staff at the schools have made. Again, perhaps the budget can start to become an ongoing conversation between the Board of Ed, Central Office, and our Mayor and Town Council. I don't know if there's any questions that I can answer at the end to help anyone on deciding with this budget understand further, but I'm willing to try. What I can do, though, is invite you to our school and events. I know that recently there was a Elks Club dinner that one of my students earned the right to attend, but in fairness, I don't know if anyone ever realizes the opportunities that we have to kind of take away from learning in order for those students to participate. For the future, my hope is that you take us up on an offer to come in and see how the taxpayers' money is utilized through the efforts of our students and dedicated staff that we cannot afford to lose. Until then, I leave here with my concerns as my family and I play the waiting game on how this is going to impact my children, because in fairness, with this budget, we know that it will. Again, I truly thank you for your opportunity to speak this evening.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tim Kanzler. I live at 41 Hinch Drive. I want to thank you all for taking time to come out tonight. It really means a lot that you took time to schedule this meeting. I'm a resident of Wallingford and a parent of 3 children, 1 in high school, 1 in middle school, and 1 in elementary school. I've also been a teacher in Wallingford for 20 years. My wife has been a teacher here for the last 4 years. Needless to say, I'm incredibly invested in this town and our schools. An education budget is different than any other town budget because it directly impacts children. Children. They must always come first, always, always, 100% of the time. children, taxpayer. The adults in this town have a responsibility to provide the best possible education for our kids, and I think people have forgotten what our kids went through during the disastrous COVID years. We are still seeing the effects of this in school. Increased anxiety, behavior issues, inability to focus, or just to name a few. Education budgets should never be cut, but especially not now. Our kids need us more than ever to give them a high-quality education experience. The education budget is not the place to balance the books. We all want the same thing, a healthy, thriving Wallingford. Cutting school funding will have disastrous effects on our town over time. Our kids aren't stupid. They will see the effects of these cuts, and they will feel the effects of these cuts. They will know they have not been made a priority in this town. They will lose a sense of school pride and pride in this town. If you want to see crime increase, then by all means, cut the school budget, because that's exactly what's going to happen. If you want to see drug use increase, cut the school budget. It's going to happen. Creating a thriving, healthy Wallingford starts with investing in our youth. Cutting funds means cutting essential programs, teachers and staff, and increasing class sizes. The latest research shows that an optimal learning environment for students is a class size of 18 or less. We are already over that in the elementary schools. If we have a reduction in staff, class sizes go up. It's as simple as that. I'm urging you to do the right thing. Please fully fund the school budget. Trust the school board and the administrators when they present their requests every year. They're making these requests based on what our students' needs are. Again, these are children. Our children are counting on you, teachers are counting on you, and families are counting on you. We clearly can't count on the mayor to do right by our kids, but we can count on you. So thank you.
My name is Amy Stewart. I live at 17 Wall Street. I teach at Pond Hill School. I prepared something I spoke on April 29th when we had the initial meeting. I prepared something for tonight. I'm not going to read it. I think it's clear that many of you have already made some decisions, as stated by some of the counselors. I will reiterate that I think the town council and the Board of Ed need to have more conversations about what is really happening in the world today. Our children are not a compromise. Our jobs are not a compromise. I've lived in this town my entire life. My family has some very deep roots in this town, and I am proud to say that I am a member and resident of this community. We can't create schools where the children will continue to thrive if we're compromising on them. It doesn't exist in the world today. The children come to school less regulated. Our special ed population is going up. We have children coming to schools speaking different languages. We can't continue to educate them the way they need to be educated without the resources that the budget is calling for. Mr. Testa, thank you so much for calling this meeting. The rest of the town council, thank you for voting to initially put the money back into the budget. I still am going to ask you to reconsider. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is this, okay. Hi, my name is Catherine Haskell. I live at 35 Chimney Sweep Road. I have been a lifelong Wallingford resident. I went to these schools for my entire life, and now I teach in one. I'm here tonight to express my strong support for overriding the veto. This budget is not just a financial document anymore. It represents our commitment to the future of our community, our children, and this town's long-term success. I have 19 students, and they need me all day long. For some of them, it's academic. It's not a secret that the number of students in special education has doubled over the past 4 decades. And in Wallingford, 18.9% of students require special education services. This percentage continues to rise. Beyond special education, many students need Tier 1, 2, or 3 interventions in reading or math, speech, language, or hearing services, English language learner support, physical or occupational therapy, social work, and psychology services. Cutting the budget is detrimental to providing these essential services and ensuring that every single learner can be successful. For other students, they need me emotionally. I understand that I can only stand up here and speak for a few minutes, and describing the various ways that these students need emotional support would take hours. The emotional landscapes of our classrooms are becoming increasingly complex. Our professionals are often stretched thin, managing caseloads that far exceed what is manageable. Cutting the budget only exacerbates this issue, leaving our most vulnerable students without the support that they desperately need. The needs of our students are growing, and they require more support, not less. In a world where the student population is changing drastically, taking money from the budget poses a significant risk to the progress we have made and that the goals we aim to achieve. Cutting or underfunding education might offer short-term financial relief, but it will lead to serious and detrimental long-term consequences for the students we have now and the students we might have in the future. When making this decision, I urge you to consider the perspectives of every single professional that has come to speak before you and the professionals that have emailed, called, and texted you. I urge you to consider every child and their unique needs when making this decision, because putting Band-Aids on this problem is not going to work anymore. Thank you for your time, and I hope you reconsider.
My name is Charlie Elliott. I live at 104 Simpson Avenue. I'm a student in the district, and I just want to say that it was important enough to me that I showed up. I'm going into my senior year. I don't know what classes I'm going to be able to take. I'm finding it hard to plan for my future, where I'm going to go to college, because I don't know how this budget is going to affect my next school year.
Good evening, Mike Votto, 377 North Elm Street. Promised myself I wasn't going to get up here and talk, but I can't help myself. You know, I've known so many of you for so long, and it makes it very difficult for me sometimes to be in opposition to some of the decisions you make, and I have to voice that opinion. I have to. I've done 23 of these budgets, and I know the issues we've had in the past and the problems we've had in the past, but I have to tell you, in these last few years, Central Office has done so much to streamline these budgets. I hate the word fluff. A lot of people seem to still mention that word. There's no fluff. Everything is right there for you guys to see, where the money's being spent. They put so much time and effort into all this. You know, I've never done this either, put notes on a phone and read from the phone, but I'm learning. There's so much effort for them to streamline these budgets. And one of the perfect examples is Dr. Menzo beginning the sustained and strategic plan budgets, the two separate budgets. You get to see what things the Board of Education needs to have done in the future. There should be no surprises, because we have that strategic plan that we would like to move into the sustained, or at least spend money on now and then to fulfill the responsibilities that we have to keep our schools up to par, which they are not, as you know. We can't wait for budget time to ask all these questions and find out exactly what's going on with the Board of Education. True, we make the budget, we decide where the money's being spent. That's the rule. That's what happens. But you are still a part of that. You could still come to our schools and see the things. I think you need to come into our schools and see the things that are being done. I wonder if you realize how many extra support services this school system, just like many others, need to put in place that cost so much money. Sure, I'd love to see more social studies books in 8th grade. I'm a former social studies teacher. I love social studies books. But we have children with mental health issues. We have children with behavioral issues that come into kindergarten. We need people to service those kids. That costs money. And I'm not trying to be nasty or whatever, but I wonder how many of you have been in a kindergarten class to see what these teachers do all day long. I've done it. And I know what they go through, and I think and I know it's hard. You have to make the decision about taxes. But there comes a time, as some other people have just said, we have to put our kids first. And I think I just lost my page. Hold on a minute. I'll just finish with this. I don't understand. Obviously, some of you have talked before this meeting and decided that this is going to be a meeting to hopefully override the mayor's veto. But what I don't get is tonight, some of you who voted for the 2.3 million, all of a sudden come in here tonight and change your mind. That you're not going to help override the veto. And you know what? I don't care that it's not going to pass. Stand by your conviction. You voted for 2.3 million and now you're saying no. Go on record that you still want the 2.3 million.
Melanie Risacci, 9 Platt Drive. First, I also want to thank Councilor Testa for putting this meeting together and for you all giving us your time tonight. It is appreciated. Public education is one of our greatest ideals and achievements. Free, quality education for every child, regardless of means and background. That's the way it's supposed to be, but if we compare towns, even in our really small state, we know that just isn't true. The current system for funding public education is broken. It's really broken. It relies too heavily on state and local resources, particularly tax revenues, and this is where our debate in Wallingford currently stands. I implore you all here to work together with our state representatives and our state senators to advocate for true education funding reform because strong federal reforms are needed. I believe in Connecticut, federal funding only pays about 7% of our education budget. That really needs to be fixed, and we need to work together to advocate for that. If we are all to have a chance of providing all students with excellent education, we must build a strong foundation, one with sufficient and adequate and equitable funding of public schools, not just in theory. We historically keep clinging to the efficient notion of doing more with less. We need to stop normalizing the practice of underinvesting in education and still expecting that schools will function well. This norm is very costly and shortchanges the potential of our entire community. In reality, we are just using the doing less with more notion to justify education budget cuts if it actually entails a misguided denial of the need for resources and the inevitable damage that ensues when those resources fall short or fail to exist at all. Wallingford is a great town, but we are in a position where we now need to play catch up. My short-term ask is that you reconsider and that you change your votes. This isn't about whether or not you support the mayor's budget or not. It's about whether or not you are in favor of properly funding education. My long-term ask is that we find ways to work together in a real way. Education is about 2/3 of the budget, or 60%, and I echo the invitation to come into the schools and also attend our meetings. I know historically the mayor has only attended town council meetings, but if 2/3 of the town budget is education, I would ask the mayor that he also attend Board of Education meetings. As well as invite any town councilor to attend as well. A lot of times our audience is empty, yet you have to make so many decisions about the budget, and this is the largest portion of the budget. Our audience should never be empty. 80% of our teachers live in town. Layoffs in town will affect the town as a whole. And then lastly, this notion that whether we see online or if people have verbalized around Board of Education or the administration crying wolf, or they always find ways, or layoffs don't really happen, is a notion that I really hope goes away. Firstly, it's disrespectful. Secondly, it's untrue. If there are dollars that are allocated for something, for instance, like a gym floor for $290,000, and that will equate to saving 3 teachers, Every single time I will vote to save the teachers. Every single time. There is no crying wolf. There is moving resources. There is people working really hard to figure out how to do more with less because we keep being forced to do that over and over. Please consider changing your vote because we need to properly fund education.
Diana Ball, 104 Simpson Avenue. I went to school with some of you. Some of your kids came to
If
my
you
school.
mind just getting a little closer to the mic,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Went to school with some of you. Some of your kids came through our school. My kids go to school with some of your kids. I really just I thank you guys for having this meeting. The board is here. Our administrators are here. I appreciate everybody's time and effort. And all I really want to do is, I've already emailed with a lot of you. Thank you for those of you who responded. I just want to put another face in this conversation. Really, I want to just say ditto to everything she said, because you guys are smarter than I am about all of this, but you need to see the faces it will affect. It gets lost. It is our kids. And you just need, I just want everybody here, you just need to know how much it affects us. It's not just a, I get it, it's a great compromise. Sure, compromise is awesome. It's a really big deal. It makes a really big difference. And I know how hard our administrators work and how hard our Board of Ed works to craft this. So I need one more voice to say, please, just know what you're doing. Just know who you're affecting. Thank you.
Good evening, Maureen Reed, 89 Chapel Street. Thank you very much for all of the effort and the hard decisions that you're making. I truly appreciate it. In terms of generations, I start with, my father is an 88-year-old who has lived in Wallingford since he was in his 20s, and to think that he even has to pay taxes is, shattering, let alone higher taxes. My kids in their 20s can't afford houses in Wallingford, where it's a great place to raise families. So I understand the decisions that you're up against, and there's another side to that. The people out here, these are the people that are teaching our future. If we can't put money into kids, what can we put money into? I'm an educator of 30 years, and I think being in the system, you can't possibly understand. You went to school yourselves. You have children who have gone through the system, but unless you've been in a school, you can't possibly understand the things that go on in schools today and the amount of money and effort it takes to educate children. So I truly would appreciate your rethinking. You agreed to the 2.3. It's come down to 1.1. I understand compromise, but I really would appreciate thinking over the next few minutes of what would be the most important thing to put our money into, because our kids are going to be our future.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Ann Poirier, 121 Simpson Avenue. Thank you for holding this meeting tonight and giving us a chance to express our voice. Thank you for the work you do on behalf of Wallingford voters. I know you have difficult decisions to make as you consider the budget. Wallingford has a thriving downtown and a public library that is the envy of every town in Wallingford. We have a lot to be proud of. I love the schools here in Wallingford. I've been a teacher here for almost 30 years. And when I started teaching in Wallingford, I loved the town so much that I moved here, raised my children here. My kids went through Wallingford Public Schools. We need to make the same investment in education that we're making in other parts of our town if we want our town to continue to be a place families choose to live. Tonight, I'm here to ask you to consider those who don't have a voice in this process, the children of our town. I witness daily how hard educators are working to meet the ever-growing needs of our students. We have students with housing insecurity, food insecurity, We have refugee students entering our schools throughout the year. Our teachers and paraprofessionals work tirelessly to meet the needs of these students. We know for a fact that literacy and education give children the very best chance for future success in life. A free public education is often the only chance some of our students will ever have at success in life. Their lives are so difficult. Public education is what will save them. I ask you to vote to restore funding to this budget.
All right, seeing no one else from the public, I'll bring it back to the council. All right, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll? And so just so we're clear, so the vote to override the mayor's veto requires 7 affirmative votes. I'm sorry, thank you, Madam Clerk. Kindly call the roll.
Counselor Allenson.
If you can hear me, yes.
Yes. Counselor Carmody?
Yes.
Counselor Laffin?
No.
Counselor Marone?
No.
Counselor Reagan?
No.
Counselor Reynolds?
Yes.
Counselor Tata?
No.
Counselor Testa?
Yes.
All right, and the motion fails. Seeing no other items on the agenda, this meeting is adjourned.